Hello and welcome to Cool Coffee with Kansas Principals. By and for school administrators, this podcast is intended to promote candid discussion and insight about our great profession. My name is Rick Sola, and as Communications Director for the Kansas Principals Association, I am the host, but I am certainly not the feature. Sit back, take a sip, and enjoy. This is Cool Coffee with Kansas Principals. Let's get started. Welcome to Cool Coffee. We are on here today with Mr. Chris Rinehart from Plainville Elementary School, USD 270, home of the Cardinals. Chris, welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm thankful to be here and appreciate the opportunity. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you reaching out and being willing to do this. As I still feel like we're very new in this, and I was just sharing with you. Certainly, I am learning a lot. I am not a professional podcaster, but we're getting through this. But been a lot of fun, and I'm excited to talk about what you had brought up earlier in a communication we had as far as a district-operated daycare. But we'll get to that here in just a little bit. We are sitting here recording on September 17th. Chris, what's got you feeling really good right now at this point in the year?
Oh, well, I tell you what, so today, or this week's, is homecoming week for Plainville. So we've got all the Spirit Week, of course, is kicked off, and we're enjoying that. Even though our elementary building, of course, doesn't get involved in all things homecoming, but it's always fun just to give the elementary kiddos the opportunity to do the fun things throughout the week, dress up. It worked out today today was also Fall Picture Day, and somebody was smart in thinking they made Spirit Dress Up Day was Dress Up Day. So we all looked good today. We were in our ties, and we had several boys walking around in bow ties and looking good, looking spiffy and everything. So tomorrow is tomorrow. I had to look. Tomorrow's PJ Day, so I'm excited. I'm looking forward to PJ Day.
That's great. We are in the middle of a Spirit Week ourselves, and we started our week with PJ Day, and that's always a joy. Do you join in on this? Are you going to be wearing PJs tomorrow?
Well, I have at times. There's not every single time, but there has been. I will admit, there's been a time where Mr. Rinehart has showed up in his flannel PJs, and kids are looking at me like, "Wait, what a minute? What's going on?" But yeah, I guess I'll have to wake up in the morning and see if I'm feeling it or not.
Yeah, it's like you're out of your uniform. When you're not wearing your normal stuff, it's like being seen at the grocery store. Like what's going on? It's like it messes with their world. My very practical issue with pajama day is I wear a radio on my belt, and I don't wear a belt for pajamas, and so it really throws me off if I'm wearing pajamas because it just throws everything, my feng shui or something. I don't know.
Right. I think the last time I did participate in PJ Day, it ended up being a day where I had to I had to have some conversations with some kiddos, and I had to kind of put on that whole professional, straightforward look. But it was kind of hard because then of course they were listening to a guy who's also dressed in his PJs. So I don't really know if that conversation was really taking that bite that it really need to, because they were hearing me, but what they were seeing was a whole different. So sometimes that's the disadvantage too. Is like when you got to be principal some days, and sometimes that attire can make a difference a little bit.
It sometimes never fails that the most awkward Spirit-themed day is the day you have to have a really serious principal conversation, and you've got a fake mustache and a cowboy hat on or something, and makes it
adds a little different aspect to it, doesn't it?
So, Chris, I've been asking guests on here about their road to the chair. You are here in if I remember right, your second stop in administration, or is this your first stop?
Nope, this is just my first. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So kind of take us through what led you to where you're at today in Plainville.
Yeah. So I back in 2004, I graduated from Southwestern College. Got my bachelor's in elementary education in 2004. Straight out of college, my first teaching job took me to Palco, Kansas, which is just a small community just straight west of Plainville. I met my wife, and she's a Plainville grad, so we've always lived here in Plainville. But from 2004 to 2012, I was teaching fifth grade. I was in the elementary building and just making the short commute over to Palco each day. And Palco's just a small little 1A school with 8-man football, but which was perfect for me because that was exactly where I came from. I graduated high school from South Haven, and we were an 8-man football community. And so for me to get my foot in the door and just get into education, to me that was a wonderful start. And like I said, I felt like Palco was just the right fit for me in terms of size. It was not anything extreme and big and everything, so it was a great fit for me. So then in 2012, there was an elementary positioning opening here in Plainville, and I just kind of felt like perhaps maybe I needed to try to just throw my name in the hat and just see where it led me. I really had no reasoning or nothing against Palco. It was a great school, great community. I loved the kids and the teachers and everybody who worked there. It was a great experience, but just kind of thought maybe I would throw my name in and just see maybe if the Plainville opportunity where it would lead. And sure enough, I did. I got the option to come over to Plainville and teach. It was a 6th grade classroom that I was in. So once again, just staying in my elementary comfort zone. I taught for a couple years. I was 6th grade reading and language arts and did some things with 4th and 5th grade math. And somewhere around about 2015, they asked me if I would jump across the street and do some junior high and freshman science. And I jumped at that opportunity. In fact, when I think about that, for about 2015, I think it was about 2019 or so, I kind of felt like the district was paying me to play because I got to just pull out labs and enjoy being in a science classroom and doing all kinds of fun things like that. So I really did. Again, I enjoyed that. And then it was about that 2019. At that time, Plainville, we had a superintendent who was acting as superintendent and grade school principal. And then, of course, we had our junior high and high school principal. And at that time, we were just experiencing there was quite a few needs really throughout the district, behavior needs and things like that we were experiencing. And it was too much for our superintendent to be superintendent and principal and trying to navigate all those different challenges. So they knew that I'd gone back to school and had my building level leadership, so they knew that I kind of had that in my back pocket, and it wasn't necessarily that wasn't my opportunity to jump into a principal role at that time, but they asked me if I'd come over to the elementary building and kind of serve in that, I guess you made that assistant admin role, I guess. And so I did that for a year, and then 2020 was my I kind of look at, I guess 2019 was kind of like my trial run. I guess it kind of gave me a year to see if I was fit for the job. I must have done something right, because in 2020 the superintendent had talked to me about she just felt like, yes, this was the direction that we wanted to go. They wanted to she had conversations with the board, and our board agreed that it was time to go back to one superintendent and then a building principal in the junior high and high school and a building principal in our elementary building. So that opportunity opened up for me, and I stepped in, and so this is my 5th year now
nice.
as an elementary principal. And so it just teachers that that I've been teaching with here and been colleagues with for a number of years, and now here I am serving in the admin role, and so far I feel like it's been great. I've really enjoyed it. It's been a good experience.
So you got a dress rehearsal year.
Yeah, I kind of did get that year-long dress rehearsal. I kind of did, yeah.
Kind of nice.
Yeah.
So 5 years in, it probably feels really quick. I know. So I'm actually 5 years into my current position as principal where I'm at. So you started 2020. That's COVID.
That's COVID, yeah.
And I can empathize. I don't know how many who are listening started in a COVID year, but really it's, not a great year maybe to transition into a building role. How did you go about building relationships? Well,
I tell you what, that year of everything that we are navigating and going through, I guess kind of looking back, I mean, that's COVID kind of forced that very thing, where just the constant communication that I needed to have with the teachers. I felt like I was constantly putting out little, I was doing little video recordings and posting to our school social media, just trying to navigate and communicate as best as I could, not only to teachers, but to the community and parents and things like that. I mean, so it just kind of forced me to build some of that, and I just felt like, even though looking back, I'm sure that there were times where I probably fell short, probably didn't, and like everybody would probably, say that, there were parents that didn't agree with a lot of what we were saying or navigating, but we also felt like we were doing what was best for kids and doing what was best to keep us safe and keep school going. I mean, that was, thankfully, we were one of those districts where we came to school, and of course we had kids in masks, and we were doing all those things that, social distance and doing all those things that we were trying to do. But, we were also hearing about districts that were trying to do it all from home, and we told ourselves that we understand that there's a balance there. We wanted kids in our doors, we wanted kids in our classrooms, but we also were very cautious of what was happening around us too. So it was a difficult time, no doubt. I mean, yeah. Looking back, I sure I sure hope that we don't have to go through anything like that anytime soon again.
No, I hope not. It was certainly unique, but you mentioned developing skills. It did. It kind of forced us, I think all of us, just everybody I was talking, like we were forced to figure out communication in a different way, or connecting in a different way, and in the end, it probably sharpened our skill set in a direction that we may not have ever gone. Just being forced to be a little more digital, a little more, I guess whatever the case it needed. What I remember thinking is, we spend all this time, especially pre-COVID. It's we hear a lot about the hierarchy of needs, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We think about kids. It was certainly a time too where it applied to our staff every bit as much, and thinking about what some of our staff needed, and you mentioned the differing of opinions that was all over, whether it was parent community or staff or whatever. Such a unique time, but then of course starting your principalship in that year just adds a whole different element to that ball game as well. You probably feel like at this point you can get through anything, bring it on.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. I don't know. Well, and I actually, I was kind of thinking back to that. I'm almost certain that the year, COVID, the year we were coming back, my first week of my first year, I showed up here at school, and we had a main water break. It wasn't anything that was causing like major flooding or anything out in front of the school, but our water was shut down in our elementary building for a while. And so I'm like, okay, COVID, main water break. Like this is pretty. What a way to get things started, So
yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
It's just what you were hoping for at that time. Like the absolute last thing on your mind that you want.
It was kind of one of those things like, no, wait a minute, what did I sign up for again?
Yeah. So the topic here, as far as you had mentioned that your district is 3 years into a district operated daycare, and it's timely for us. We have a small version of that, but we get an email about a month ahead of every of our in-service days, and that email just came out in our district, and I know it's a bit of a scramble, so I'm really interested, not just for the district I'm in, but every school district, it's daycare and the lives of our staff. It's super relevant, and it's a big thing. So talk to us about Plainville and what they're doing with their district operated daycare.
Yeah, so just so you're saying, here in Plainville as well, we were seeing a lot of signs that there were some families that were struggling. In fact, I'll share, the comment got back to us. There was a young family here in town, and the comment was, well, my husband and I just decided to stop having kids because we can't find anybody to help us out with watching them. And of course, as an elementary principal and somebody who's involved in school and where kids are their main focus, I mean, that's a very scary, alarming comment. Of course, we don't want our young families to stop having kids just because there's no daycare. I mean,
Right.
So, and at that time, so here, 2 or 3 years ago, we did have some other ladies here in town that were running daycares, but they started shutting down for all different reasons. One of them was just that she was one of the providers was just getting up in age, and it was just time for her to retire and be done. So rightfully so. I mean, it got to the point it was hard, and so she had earned that opportunity to retire. So that wasn't anything against her there. But we also we had another daycare facility where the facilities just were starting to become more and more expensive to maintain, and so they realized that it just wasn't financially feasible for them to continue. So there was just kind of one thing after the other. We started seeing our daycare starting to fall one after the other, and kind of at that same time, it was actually in around 2000 and I think it was like 2019. During that year, we were just simply a peer model preschool, and Lisa Gehring, our superintendent here, really she's the force behind all of this. Really, to give credit where credit is due, she obviously was just starting to look at what we were experiencing within our school and our preschool, what the community was experiencing with younger kiddos and daycares and things like that. She really felt like it was time for us to open up our preschool, just have open enrollment. And so we did that, and so we went from a preschool classroom that just had, I think we had 15, and then that next year we went to open enrollment, we went up to 24, and then the following year after that we were up in the 48, 49 range, and we've been consistently pushing that 50 number here pretty consistently every year since then. And so that definitely was huge. We've got graphs and things that we've showed our board, and we've showed them what our preschool numbers have done, and just that the line just rockets straight up. It's pretty amazing. But we again, going back to then the daycare, again, our community was in need, and Lisa Gehring, again, she right away started making phone calls. She started reaching out to people that she knew here in our community would be kind of a game changer, a force, some really good resources that we could go out to and start talking to about what we could do. I think one of the key things that she did right off from the very get-go was of the daycares that were currently still operating in our town. She met with those ladies, and they kind of had a cheese and cracker night, and they just she came right up and just said, we are not at all trying to be in competition. We're not trying to pull business away from those current providers. We just simply want to help be a solution in this challenge that we're facing. And so we right from the very get-go, I mean, that message was, we don't want to pull business or pull kids away from. We just want to help. And so I think that was a very important piece to it as well. And the other thing was, we talked about right from the get-go, is we didn't want to jump into this and do it by passing a bond. We didn't want to throw more stress on our taxpayers. Of course, we definitely didn't want to go start knocking door to door and asking for donations. Mrs. Gehring, right from the very get-go, started tapping into and looking out to all the different grant possibilities that were out there. And so that's the other key thing about our daycare, is that not only is it run by our school, but it's in working order right now. And because we've done it all, everything from build the facility, supplies that we have for it, it's all been grant funded. And so it's amazing what we've been able to accomplish and what we have out there just by grants, and it hasn't come to any extra costs or anything for anybody of our taxpayers or anything. So but yeah, we're not, so we have a fully licensed group daycare here on our school campus, and we are actually in the process of building another one out at our Rooks County Hospital. And even though that is out there north of town and on their campus, it is still falling under our, what we call them the nest, because we're the Cardinals, of course. So we have like Nest 1 and we'll have Nest 2 out at the hospital. And so it's their building, it's their facilities, but we as a school, we're in a team effort with the hospital to say, you guys build the facility, we'll provide the providers, we'll take care of the people and all that thing. So we'll have, here after a while, we'll have another one out at the hospital. And then actually we built another building out there by our daycare, and it served as our preschool classroom last year. But because, like I mentioned, because of our preschool numbers have grown so much and so drastically, we outgrew that facility within a year. So we brought our preschool back into our main elementary building, which was a whole challenge of itself. We relocated basically all the elementary classrooms, and we brought in our preschool kiddos now are in our main building. And now currently right now we have an empty building, but we are working on getting the licensure for that. And so we will have 2 more daycares. So we potentially will have up to 36, because we'll have a license up to 12 per daycare. We'll have the goal is that we'll eventually have spots for 36 more kids here on campus, plus an additional another 12 at the hospital. So just with the work we've done, we potentially could have 48 spots for daycare services for our families. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, what a great service. And I love, you mentioned just recognizing the need, and I'm curious, so you go to the established daycare providers already in the community. Was there any pushback or concern, or was that a major challenge? Or
no, it really wasn't, because the other providers, the ones that were hanging on and trying to, again, they were trying to do what they could for families. Again, that's what we've learned in this world since we've jumped into daycare world. We've learned that, just because we're licensed for 12, we can still provide services for more than that, because, we might have a kiddo that only needs to be watched in the mornings, and when that kid maybe gets picked up by a parent, then that opens up a spot where another kiddo can come in. So there's some flexibility in there where you can actually provide services for more than just 12, but you just can't have more than 12 on your facility at a time. So they were trying to do all that. They were trying to move kids and shuffle kids and say, I can take this one if you can take this one. And they understood that with us coming in and joining them, it was going to be nothing more than just help. It was not at all. They did not have any pushback. They were kind of coming with open arms, saying, yes, take as many as, you can have as many as you can, and you're still not going to impact our numbers. So they were okay with that for sure.
I love that. I think anytime you can involve the community, and in this case for such a important reason, but anytime the community is involved and at the table and part of the solution, it only strengthens our schools, in my opinion. It makes us stronger. It's a the saying, it takes a village to raise a kid, and our schools are part of that village. And you said no bond money, no taxes. It was grants.
Yes, in fact, I went. So we have our conference room, our boardroom here at the school, and it's actually really neat. We have these old chalkboards still from. It's an old classroom. It's in a part of the building that's our oldest age part of our building, but it still has some of the old black chalkboards in there. But what we've done is we've turned them into like some neat decorative signage, that just has different things about the school. It has our board members' names on it and different things. But one of the sections is a area where we're tracking our grant money. And over the time now, this isn't just this year. This is over a course of, I think, maybe about 3 or 4 years. And it's not just specifically with the daycare, it's with a number of other projects that we've got going on. But I would say a good chunk of it is tied into this daycare project. But we're up, I made a note, we are at, make sure I look at my notes. Yeah, we're at $2.4 million in grants that we're utilizing here in our district. So and again, I say that, Lisa Gehring, our soup, I mean, she has just done a phenomenal job with with doing that. And of course, there's all kinds of paperwork, and there's all kinds of tracking that when you get involved in some of these grants, there's always that work that comes along back behind there. But she understands the importance of just how critical this money can be when we're trying to put some things in place. And we are
that's incredible.
We've definitely learned the importance and the just how much you can do when you got grant opportunities out there. So yeah.
So you're year 3 in, and I'm sure you've worked through some speed bumps along the way. Is there anything along the way that, I don't know, if someone was trying to replicate it in their district, or just some considerations that you feel like, oh yeah, this was a hurdle that we struggled with, or we now know to anticipate? Anything that you can share?
Yeah, we, especially in that first year, and that was, again, it goes back to the message of what we are sharing with our families, and we shared with our board, is that by no means did we want this to be something that this is not a money maker. We're not trying to make a huge profit on daycare. We're just simply trying to provide a service, and that was something, again, we were very confident about. We communicated that our goal at each month is just simply to break even. If we end up in the green a little bit, great, but we also know there's going to be some months we're probably not, and we experienced that. I mean, right off the very get-go. Like I said, the grant money helped us get our building up. It helped us get our driveways put in. It helped us get our playground and things like that in place. But we came to that point. It's like, oh, we need a refrigerator. We need pots and pans. We need Tupperware. It's like we need a microwave. We're furnishing a house. Right? Yeah. So there was just some of those expenses like that where we went to our board and we said, okay, we realized we need X amount of dollars, and thankfully our board, they understood. I mean, they were willing to help us with that, and so that was one of the things. Our first month or two, we operated in the red, but we've also, each month, of course, we're tracking and we're watching, and we've had some months where like, hey, we broke even, we met our goal, or we're actually in the green, so there will be those times where it may seem scary, like, oh, are we losing money? But to me, it's not a money thing. We're providing a service for our families, our kids, and like I said, we're still in the process of trying to get these other 3 daycares up and running. We've got a waiting list of, last I knew, it was somewhere around 42 or 43 kids. Wow. So we know the need is there, and that's the thing is, I think to me, the cool thing about it is, last year I got a preschool teacher, and last year she had a little one who was out there in our daycare. She was coming to work, being a preschool teacher. She just simply went right across the alley and took her kiddo to the daycare, and then walked right over and was a teacher. And during the day, she had her opportunities when her kids were off to specials or something. She just simply could go over to the daycare and check in on her little one, feed her and do all things like that, and get right back to the classroom. So just to me, it's when you can provide those opportunities also for your families, your community, but then of course, we've got a number of young teachers too that hopefully we can just say, hey, when that time comes and you've got that little one, we've got a spot for you, here.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's a good point. That's almost a recruiting tool. That's a great service. It's serving a need in the community, and but it's also a perk for being in the district and working in Plainville. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is there any opportunity, or maybe it's already happening, with students, the old high school students, being involved and helping out or being a part of it?
Yes. So again, it just to me, the way when we got this going. I will admit, when Mrs. Gary came to me and just said, her thing is, I've got an idea. when she says, like, I got an idea, it's like, okay, buckle up, here we go, we're about ready to step into it. So when she came to me and said, I have an idea, we're getting into the daycare business, I was kind of like, okay. And I will admit, and I've told her this, I said, I'm not so sure I was sold right at the very get-go. I was kind of like, what are we doing? But I sometimes I've learned it's just best just to not ask the question. It's just run with it, right? But I can, with all the confidence I have, I can so much see the benefit because we've got kids I know that are going to that daycare, and that's their school, that's their education. They're socializing, they're getting books read to them, they're learning social skills with kids, and so here I've got 8-month-old or 9-month-olds out there that are crawling around and doing all these things, but they're doing school. And I just think that there's such a huge benefit for those kids that they're going to go through our daycare system. They'll eventually make it into our preschool, our classrooms, kindergarten, and so forth. And even now we're still talking about at some point, someday in the future, we're going to have a high school graduate walk across our stage that was a daycare kiddo, and so I don't know who that person will be or when that year will come, but we're just knowing that we're excited for that day to come, that eventually we'll see that, and that's exciting to think about that. But I guess I'm saying that, and now I don't know if I can remember what your question was. You have to tell me what was.
Just whether high school students had or even middle school maybe, but high school students, maybe even those who are considering a career in child, either education or whatever. But if they had an opportunity to be a part of it.
Yeah, so there it is. That's the reason I know where I was going down that road. So not only if I'm seeing I'm a firm believer in it. I'm loving what I'm seeing with these little kiddos. But we also have, across in our high school, we have the CTE class, and it's we have an education class, and so we have a teacher who. And I think in our last couple of years, we've been around up in the 20s. There'll be about 20 kids in the high school that will, they go through this course, and they're just kind of getting those first basic fundamentals of what it means to be in a classroom, be a teacher. And so we have high school kids that will come across, and again, they're just right across the street. They walk over. We have that class is from 1 o'clock to 1:50. And we have some kiddos that, we have a lot of those kiddos that are coming in the elementary building and stepping into our elementary classrooms and observing and getting to do some things with kids. But we have some that go right over there to our daycare and actually are, we've gone through the process to get them through their orientation and do the things we need to do so that they are, they're out there in our daycare and, providing a service out there and getting their experience doing that. So again, that's just another element where, again, here we have not only provided a service for our little ones, we are also bringing in our high school kids and giving them that opportunity to see what that's like. And actually we have a daycare director, and then we have 2 daycare providers, and both of those daycare providers are former high school graduates. And honestly, they're just those kids that I feel like this is probably what they'd be doing. They would be back living in Plainville. They would probably be having, tried to run daycares or maybe out of their homes. They're those kids that they love kids. They love little ones. And now here they are. We've provided in their facility, and they've gone off and got some college credits and some I think maybe even like they got their associate's degree and some things, but they've come back. They're now working for us at the school district. They're our main providers, and they're phenomenal. They're just great. And this is kind of looking back, they were former students that I had back when I was still in the classroom, and now here they are. They're daycare providers and doing a wonderful job. Yeah.
And it's so neat to see when high school kids step into a classroom for the first time and they're kind of an authority figure, and you see them kind of light up in a different way. They're being looked at as a teacher, and that's so cool. I'm just thinking, I mean, there's so many areas that this project is tackling in a positive way. It was intended as a service for the community, but what a community builder all around. I mean, it's everything you've described it's enhancing the community, it sounds like.
I really do. I don't know if I can necessarily pinpoint and say it's the exact reason, but at the same time, I just can't help but think that it's got to be more than coincidence that, since we've kind of got this up and running, there's clearly some other factors that I know that are happening around us, but our enrollment as a whole in the district, has been growing, and there's a number of school districts in our area that that's unfortunately that's not what they are saying. They're experiencing declining enrollments, and I hate that, because I just feel like we're all stronger when all the communities are strong, when the schools are strong and everything. So I hate that these other schools are experiencing that, but that I think that's again across many areas of the state. But for us, thankfully, we're just in a different boat. We're seeing increasing enrollment, and we're seeing it a lot happening in our early childhood classrooms. Our preschool numbers are, like I said, we've got 51 preschool kiddos. We run an AM. We have 2 preschool teachers, and we run an AM class in the morning with 3-year-olds and an afternoon 4-year-old class in the afternoon. 5 days a week. And so, those preschool numbers are climbing. Our kindergarten classrooms have been increasing, and we're seeing more kids come up, through the school system, in those younger ages. And so, I'm with you. I agree. I think it's just been, it's been something that's definitely caught the attention. And again, if anybody who's listening to this, or if they have the opportunity to make their way, if they're driving through Plainville and they're heading north or south on 183, our facility's right there off the highway. And here just recently, we had some new signage put up where we've got I think there may be somewhere about 8 or 9 little, they look like little baby infant cardinals. And we got the big red letters that say the nest. I mean, if you're heading down 183 and you're going right through Plainville, you can't miss it. It definitely gets your attention, and it just looks so sharp. It looks nice.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's really exciting. And you kind of alluded to it, but I would imagine this would generate some interest in possibly either some surrounding districts or districts even across the state. I'll have your contact information in our show notes if anyone wants to reach out. But no, that's really great. I appreciate you sharing all that. Daycare, or the need for daycare, impacts every single one of our districts. Big, small, medium, rural, urban, wherever. It's a big piece, and man, a lot of celebration. It sounds like out of there, and it was fun to hear about that.
Yeah. When I sometimes I introduce myself, I don't say I'm a pre-K 6 or I'm a K 6. I say I'm a birth to grade 6 principal now. Because I don't know I have to go back and look and see who actually my youngest student is out there. She's a little one.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, we've got just a little bit left here. I'm gonna ask you, and kind of maybe put you on the spot, but I'm gonna ask you a question that you answered before. Last year, you filled out a survey for us for KPA, and you were featured. You actually gave the answer. You said the question was, the movie's being made about your life. Who is playing you? You didn't say any particular person, but you just said anyone who has a stunt double, who can ride a bike with their tires on fire, the shirt is on fire, the seat is on fire, everything is on fire. So my question to you, do you still feel like everything is on fire?
I kind of forgot that was my answer, but yeah, now that you remind me, that's right. That was and yes, I do kind of feel like everything's a little bit on fire. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that. I don't know whatever actor. I have no idea who would play me, but it would have to be a stunt actor or whatever you call him.
Yeah. That's perfect. I think we all can relate, and we have definitely had those moments, and any given day for sure. But just in general, I can empathize. Hey, the last thing, you've done a lot of talking about Plainville. But I'd love to give you just a chance to brag on your people, your staff, your school, your community, in the closing here.
Yeah, gosh, I could go on and on. The teachers we have here at Plainville, across the board, they truly are. I know principals say I got the best, but I'm just going to go out and say I got the best. I really do. They are just, not to necessarily go deep in a lot of details, but just here in Plainville, again, I said we've got a lot of good things that we're bragging about, and we love to share it with our daycare and our school and stuff, but. Here, unfortunately, in the town of Plainville, we've experienced some loss. We've had some deaths in our community, and some deaths that have hit close to home here at school. And it was a different start for this school year. I mean, we were just really trying to navigate, just the hurt and just some strong emotions there. I just am so amazed and just so blessed at just the teachers that we have, how they've come back and they knew the importance of what it meant to be strong for kids. They knew what it meant to be strong for each other. They picked up where some of that slack needed to be picked up, and really I could not ask for just a better group. They've been so just understanding of just what we've had to navigate and go through. But that's just the thing is I just feel like we've got such just a strong collaborative group where we have those meetings and we talk about the things that we feel are doing well, the things that we feel like we need to address, and we get down to business and we go to work on those. And I really do enjoy getting up and coming to work every day and knowing that this is the group that I get to spend my day with. I've shared that with them a number of times and a number of different ways. That just it's sometimes we go through hard things, but we know when we're going to work and we know we got the team that we got, it makes it easier. So they're just a great group. And we've got some teachers here that they've been here for 30 plus years, under their belts, and they've all been here at Plainville. So that's just kind of shown that this has been a good place to stay. We don't have a lot of turnover in our buildings each year. Thankfully we may have to bring on one or two here and there, but that's mainly because we've been adding, not because we've been losing people or sending people out the door. We've been having to grow with the needs of our enrollment. So those have been more recent interviews, not because we need to keep bringing people in for replacements. So just a great district. I love it here. So
those are some great words for your people. And I'm sorry to hear about the challenges in the start, but it's amazing when those really hard situations hit, and they hit every school. Your people come together, and I've not been to your school, but I would imagine and I guess congratulate you on your leadership through the challenges, through the good, the bad, and everything. I'm sure they appreciate that, and just some really nice words about your people. And it was really great hearing about Plainville today and all that's going on out there. It sounds like a great place, and I appreciate you taking all this time after, I'm sure, a busy day where I don't know how many fires you had going on yet, but you probably had several, and to take some time out here, I appreciate that.
No, absolutely. I greatly appreciate. Thank you very much. That it's wonderful to talk about and share about. Hopefully, maybe somebody else will hear this and it'll kind of spark them to maybe start thinking about for them in their communities. And absolutely, I'm more than happy to spend time to talk to whoever maybe wants to reach out to me or whatever and talk about that. It's great. But thank you, Rick, for everything you're doing too with this cool coffee. It really has been fun to listen in on the other principals that have joined in and done it. So I think it's great.
Yeah, well, it's been good, and I think I'm going to see you here Friday for our KPA meeting. But otherwise, Chris, we'll sign off. And again, I appreciate you, and we'll see you here real soon.
Thank you very much, Rick. I appreciate it.
Check the notes section for more information on this episode and to learn more about the KPA and its mission to develop and support all principals through optimized learning, collaborative leadership, networking, and service. Be sure to check back in for our next episode and spread the word about cool coffee with Kansas principals. Catch you next time.